everybody. This is Mike. I'm Alaskan Spirit Traveler, Mato Nupa, Two Bears. Today I'm going to introduce you to some of my flutes. These are PVC flutes, very easily made, durable. I call them flippin' flutes. You can stick them in your backpack, take them to places. Doesn't matter if they get wet, nothing's going to hurt them. You can kind of see this one here has been hydrographed, zebra pattern. This particular pattern glows in the dark. This is another flippin' flute. This is done by coating it in a fabric. Find your favorite fabric and you can have a permanent flippin' flute that you can take anywhere. They sound awesome. PVC. These are some more of my flippin' flutes. Some have been hydrographed. Some have fabric. Hydrographed. One glows blue, one glows green. Fabric, hydrographed. Fabric, hydrographed. This particular flute is a very special one of mine. The very first flippin' flute I ever made. Just PVC, and I've had special people that I've met in my life sign it. And it sounds absolutely wonderful. So these are some of my flippin' flutes, PVC. You can take them anywhere, get them wet, get them wild. Right now I just have rubber bands holding on the fetishes on some of them so the fetish doesn't get lost. And then on my personal flutes, I've already wrapped them in elk and buffalo leather. And you can kind of see here how the fetish lines up with the hole. The fetish moves around a little bit, but to get it to play, you want it lined up just like that. I make generic fetishes just to start because the fetish is part of the flute and your journey. The flute is your partner. You are the flute's partner. And over time, you will decorate them. You see something special you want to add to your flute, that's part of the journey. And it begins with the wrapping of the fetish. So I just have rubber bands on there for now. And then whoever takes these flutes will begin the journey of decoration. And it's not something that happens overnight. You'll find a feather, something special that you want to add onto your flute, which includes some of my wood flutes. We'll talk about them here in just a second. But these are flippin' flutes. They sound absolutely awesome. Like I said, the flippin' flute has an awesome sound to it. It's pretty dynamic. So one thing to keep in mind, you take your flute out different places and people are going to go, hey, I want to try that. Well, you know what? That's fine and dandy. But I carry little plastic tubes around that are clean. That way, if somebody else wants to try my flute, or they want to buy a flute, but they want to try a few, I put the little piece of plastic tubing in the end of the flute. And that way I don't have 100 people putting their mouth on my flutes. And when they decide the flute, they can take it off and play it. But the little plastic tubes come in pretty handy. So I always carry extra rubber bands and plastic tubes. That way people can try. To hear the Native American flute is awesome. But to play the flute is life-changing. If you play up in the mountains, I'll always have wolves howl back. I have the moose come out of the trees and lay in my yard when I'm playing. Or I'll be playing there outside on the bench up in the mountains. When I'm done, I stop and I look around and I'm surrounded by chickadees or birds that have gathered to hear the sound. If you have a dog, the dog to begin with will go like, hey, what's that? You know? But eventually, when you play your flute, even your dog will come and curl up at your side, and they love the sound. The flute connects the world to everything, to you, everything. Just the act of breathing is a prayer. So when you breathe into the flute, you're breathing your prayers into the flute. There's so much to talk about on the flute. I'm going to have some more lessons on the dynamics of how to play the flute. The thing I like about the flipping flutes is they're tuned perfectly to each other. You get that harmonic resonance. But they do sound awesome. Now the happy flute, that's what I call this one. It's the flipping flute, but I call it the happy flute. The emojis, hydrographed. So I don't have the tube in this one because this is my flute, one of my personal flutes. But they sound awesome. The flipping flute is awesome. I'm going to introduce you to some of my wood flutes. Keep in mind that when you play the flute, first thing people do is they pick the flute up and they put their fingers on like this. That's not correct. See, you're using the end of your finger. What you want is you want your hands flat on the flute so that when I press down hard to see where my finger is on the flute, you can kind of see how the holes are on the pads of the finger. That's where you want them, not on the end of your finger. The flute is all based on simplicity. The circle, all life is connected. You play everything from the bottom up. As you get better over time, you're going to learn how to incorporate the sharp and the flat, and that'll change your fingering. But just to begin with, the very first thing you want to do is just get the flute to sound. Make sure your fetish is lined up. No fingers on any of the holes. If my fetish is off, it doesn't sound right. Make sure that that fetish is lined up with the hole of the flute. Then what you're going to do is you're going to have all the fingers over the holes. Don't try and remove anything. Every now and then, if you move your finger off of the hole, that's what will happen. We'll get more into some lessons later on down the road. But right now, let's check out my wood flutes. These are just some of my wood flutes. We got different types of wood represented here. We got Douglas fir, diamond willow, cedar, spruce. Of course, we got cottonwood, cedar, cottonwood, cedar, and cottonwood, and more willow. And then, of course, we got cottonwood. You can kind of see how the fetishes are a little different, more representative of animal spirit guide. My particular guide is the bear. Decoration begins. This is the very first flute that I ever made, diamond willow. Got some decorations on it. This particular piece of wood was 18 when it died. It dried for another 25 years, and I've had it in flute form for 35 years. And it still plays awesome. Then we got, this is a piece of spruce I found floating in a river that was freshly chewed by a beaver. So got the beaver's teeth marks in it. When I found the wood, it dried for 2 years before I made a flute out of it. It's a lot tighter wood. It's got a higher sound to it as compared to cottonwood that's more airy. The poplar has more air in the wood itself. This particular flute came from a cottonwood tree that's estimated to be almost 500 years old. This branch fell from the top and rotted in the ground and still has all the tannins in it. I was able to save the piece of wood. It's got the more traditional style bird head end. And here you can see Wagnuka, the red-headed woodpecker, Very important character in the Lakota flute story. This is a special cottonwood flute. It's got the cocopelli on the end. It's more of my ceremonial flute. And then I've got cottonwood bark. This is just the bark nodule that's on the side of the tree. And this came from a 380-year-old cottonwood tree that fell. They say that the nodules on a cottonwood tree are an individual story that the tree has learned or gathered in its lifetime. So I've always wondered, what's the story of this flute? It sounds wonderful. And with that, let's hear what some of them sound like. Okay, we're going to start off with 4 wood flutes. You can hear the difference of the sound. We've got, we're going to start off with spruce, go to diamond willow, cedar, and then cottonwood bark nodule. So you can hear the difference in each wood has a different tone, and they're wonderful. It's more traditional style. And no matter what your interest in, PVC, wood, it's a wonderful journey. I highly support you in your efforts to seek them out. It's very easily played and connects you to the world around you in ways that I cannot even begin to tell you. Thanks for joining me here on Alaskan Spirit Traveler. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. We've got a lot more coming your way, including stuff on the crab. I'm a crab taxidermist as well. I got some stuff to show you on that. Thank you. Have a good day.